On this episode, Dude and Brett try their hand at making some cocktails for the upcoming Cinco de Mayo and Kentucky Derby weekend. Find out what they were and what they thought on this episode of The Bourbon Hunters. But before we get started, do you want to support our podcast? Do you like bourbon gear? Visit our website at www.bourbonhunters.com to buy some of our custom bourbon gear and support the podcast. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us on our hunt for great bourbon. Reward yourself and sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet, and enjoy. Welcome to another episode of Bourbon Hunters. I'm Duke Ford. I'm joined by
Red Brian.
And we've also got with us... Tyler's not here. I heard, a little birdie told me he's going to be here for the next episode. We'll see. We'll see if it actually happens. But today, we've got a double episode, or a double celebration. I guess it's a single episode, double celebration.
Shotgun episode.
So we're going to venture a little bit away from bourbon. There will be bourbon, we'll be bourbon adjacent.
There you go.
But we're celebrating Cinco de Mayo, and we're celebrating Derby Day. Both are this weekend. So if you're listening to this when it comes out on Thursday or Friday, you're going to be a little early, but that's all right. We'll give you a good idea on something to have. Hopefully, we're going to taste it here for ourselves in just a second and see if it's any good. And then we'll go from there. But
it looks good.
Yeah. So for Cinco de Mayo, we actually prepared, it's both of these are going to be cocktails today. So for Cinco de Mayo, we prepared a Reposado old-fashioned. So kind of like a bourbon-y type idea, but it's made with Reposado tequila instead of bourbon. And then the second half of the show, when we talk about the Derby, we'll be actually drinking a mint julep.
I think this was in Orlando last year for a work conference, but a mezcal old-fashioned.
Oh. Well, that was really mezcal.
Good.
So tequila is technically mezcal. So it's kind of like bourbon and whiskey. From what I understand, all tequilas are mezcal, not all mezcals are tequilas.
Okay.
So mezcal is a wide-ranging type of, spirit, I guess, if you will, that encompasses tequila.
But mezcal has that like smokiness to it.
Not always.
The one that I had anyway.
Yeah.
And they kind of advertised it as a smoked mezcal old-fashioned or something of that nature.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, I mean, mezcal, I sat in St. Louis during my son's volleyball tournament, went to this little craft liquor store, and the guy behind the bar was a huge mezcal fan. And now I was sitting there drinking bourbon. We started talking about mezcal, and he started giving me just samples of mezcal to taste it.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And there were some smoky ones. There were some but there's a lot of different ways you can make mezcal. So that's the big thing. And it encompasses, like I said, a lot of different agave type spirits, but then, or a lot of different styles of agave spirits, I guess. And then tequila obviously is probably the more famous of all of them. But mezcals are actually becoming a very popular drink here in the U.S. There's mezcal bars popping up, and people are drinking those. But
I heard a trend that and this may have kind of fallen down, and it might have been, 6-8 months ago, but I heard this trend that mezcal might be the new big thing.
Well, they say that, or sipping rums as well. That's another one.
Rum's a very old spirit.
Yeah, but it's also they're starting to get into a place where it's not just for shots or mixers, but it's actually, and I guess it's been that way in the Caribbean. It's been that way for a long time.
Right.
Here in the U.S., it's more of a party. Thing.
Like Bacardi rum and cocktails.
Yeah. Right. Or 151 to do shots or something stupid like that. But now they have sipping rums that are becoming bigger here in the U.S., and that's becoming a thing.
When I was in Jamaica, I had some dark rums that were like a sipping rum, and that was very good. It was a very, like you said, like sipping rum.
Yeah, and that's kind of the difference, I think, between what we're used to and then what's kind of trending a little bit in the rum and mezcal too. But let's talk about Cinco de Mayo, and then we'll get into our regular crap and have a drink of this and see what we think. See if
the listeners can't see, but we're wearing sombreros now.
Yeah, I've got a serape on and a sombrero. So, Cinco de Mayo. It's kind of funny that it's such a big thing in the United States because in Mexico it's actually not that big of a thing, except for in the Puebla region. But I think the funniest thing about Cinco de Mayo is most people in the United States think that it's Mexican Independence Day, which is not true. September 16th is the day that they honor their independence in Mexico. And Cinco de Mayo is actually celebrated on May 5th because it's the day in 1862 when Mexico's army defeated France in the Battle of Puebla during the Franco-Mexican War. So it's also known as the Battle of Puebla Day. But it's not really celebrated very heavily inside of Mexico, outside of the region or the state of Puebla. Because, for them, the big day is September 16th. That's their, national holiday. But in the United States, Cinco de Mayo has become a way to honor Mexican culture and heritage. So, we take our cultural appropriation very, very seriously.
Absolutely,
here.
on this show
and
we do.
And we choose, as many ways as we can to appropriate those cultures and make them our own. So, happy Cinco de Mayo here. And
happy Cinco de Mayo. Sorry, my dad was sending me a message. He was...
No, you're fine. So what we've got in the glass here is a Reposado Old Fashioned. And basically, it's a pretty simple recipe. It's very similar to a standard Old Fashioned, but you're using a Reposado.
Smells good.
Quarter ounce of simple syrup, 1 dash of chocolate bitters, so chocolate bitters, orange peel, and cherry for garnish, and then pouring it over a large cube, just like you would an Old Fashioned. So that is the...
It smells fantastic.
Does it? Oh,
I think it does.
It's got a little bit of that tequila and the chocolate. Yeah. So not that I normally nose my cocktails, but yeah, whatever. So,
ooh, the chocolate really shines through on that.
Yeah, that's good. Actually, that's really good.
It is. This is a very summer outside sipping, but I could sip this in watching a movie too.
Yeah. I might have to give some of this to Trina and see what she thinks.
Yeah, I bet it would get the Trampy approval.
The tramp stamp of approval. Yeah. I think we might be able to do that.
Have you ever tried whiskey stones as opposed to an ice cube?
Yeah, Trina bought them for me for Christmas a couple years ago. Not a huge fan.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, for one, they don't hold their coldness very long.
Mm-hmm. This keeps hitting my mic. I'm sorry. I don't know how to
no,
to
it's
go
a big
about
glass.
this.
And we're used to those little glasses. That's part of it. But I've tried whiskey stones in the past, and they do the initial chilling. The one thing I do like about them, I will say, is that generally they're smaller. So if you want to put them in a glass that doesn't normally hold a big rock, you could put them in there. And then, the other thing I do like about them is if you do just kind of want to go outside and it's a warm day and you don't want your bourbon to get watered down at all, it'll chill them. Now, it doesn't last very long. The chill doesn't last very long. But
see, I would have thought it would have held the chill longer for some reason.
You would think so, but for whatever reason, every time I've done it, it just doesn't seem to hold the chill very long. But it doesn't water down, which is nice. That's the nice thing about it.
That was kind of my favorite thing. I said it last week on the show about the Sazerac drink. It doesn't have any ice in it. And I was like, oh, I would love to find more cocktails that are initially the glass is chilled, but it's not made with ice, so it doesn't water down.
Yeah. No. When I made this, it tells you to add ice into the container. And then so you mix it and then pour it out strained over a large format ice is what they call it.
And these big cubes do really well of
holding their without melting too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't water it down too much. They do melt slower, which is actually nice. So if you get the opportunity to use a large rock or a large ice cube, that does actually help versus small cubes and stuff like that. Now, little fun fact: this is something you could talk about at a party, and probably be the life of the party if you come in with this knowledge. Do you know why they're called rocks? On the rocks?
No, I do not.
Back in the old days, when they had bars, but they did not have ice, they would take small pebbles, place them out into the river where they would stay chilled, like a stream or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when they wanted to chill their beverage, they would go grab them and put them into the drink.
I'll be damned.
Isn't
So
that
it is
cool?
literally on the rocks.
Yeah, that's how. That is the legend of the rocks.
I love learning little tidbits of useless knowledge like that.
Isn't that so useless?
Yeah.
But it's pretty
I love
cool.
that little shit.
If you're ever talking to a bartender and they're like, you say on the rocks. That's hey, do you know why it's called that?
That was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, if you remember. He orders like scotch on the rocks or something, and they bring it out to him, and there's actually like rocks in his glass, and he's like Toon Bar, because they're all like mixed, cartoon characters.
Right. It was. This is pretty good. I'm actually pretty happy with this.
Yeah, you have to share this recipe with me. I know you said it on the air, but I wasn't writing it down.
Yeah.
So you have to share this with me.
No, this is good. I might take a quick picture of it real quick, and then.
I really enjoy these wild turkey glasses as well.
Yeah, they give them out at Wild Turkey when you get a drink there.
Was the bar not open when we were there?
No, it was just that there was a bar in the back. Yeah, there was. There was a bar in the back, but we were in and out real quick. We didn't have time to get a drink.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. Yeah. Because you know what? I think that we were going to get a drink, but like you said, there wasn't enough time.
Yeah. We were rushing. We got that Kentucky Spirit, and we got the Russell's Reserve single barrel pick. And then from there, we had to rush, I think, to, I don't know, Four Roses maybe. Or maybe we were from Four Roses to there.
No, I think we rushed to Four Roses.
I think you're right. So yeah, I think we went to Wild Turkey, rushed to Four Roses. So that's what happened. And I'm sticking to it.
Now, do you have any Cinco de Mayo plans? Is there anything you like to do? I know a couple of years
Friday
ago
this year.
Yeah, it fell on a Tuesday a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
but I think that might have been like COVID, and like everyone had these big plans of Cinco.
Oh, and it was
like Taco Tuesday and Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, like all happened on the same day.
And then it fell in like 2020, if I remember correctly, and it all went to like shit. Like
no, so what happened for me that day is I went to Condado's, and you had to pick up. You had to stand outside and wait for your order. And the Dublin Fire Department and the Dublin Police came by multiple occasions because Condado's was so swamped. And I sat outside and waited for my order. It was like, say, a 6 o'clock pickup because you had to schedule you remember you had to schedule pickups and stuff during COVID?
Right.
It was like a 6 o'clock pickup, and I don't think I got my food till like 7:30.
Jesus.
And so the police and the fire department came by multiple times telling us we had to clear the sidewalk. Because we were too close together, and we all just stayed. Not a single person moved.
Well, I'm sure,
not a single person moved. Everyone stayed exactly where they were. No one was wearing masks or anything. It was just like, yeah, and at that point, this was like way past, 2 weeks to whatever.
The shutdown.
So everyone's like, fuck you guys. We're just sitting around.
What a weird time.
It was.
That was a weird time.
I mean, no one knew what was going on.
No.
It was scare tactics for sure from the media. Everyone was scared shitless, and rightfully so at the beginning because we didn't know what was going on. But
the unknown's always scary.
Yeah, but as soon as the data came in that it was really affecting a smaller subset of people more than any other, like they shouldn't have kept it going the way they did. It should have been, okay, let's quarantine those people, not the entire population, and then leave it up to people who might have to be around those people on a regular basis to decide whether or not they want to quarantine. Yeah. It was dumb. And the funny thing is Sweden goes through the entire thing. They don't shut down at all. They looked bad at first because their death toll spiked at first, but they ended up having a much lower mortality rate than anyone else in the world, and they never shut down once. So it's
Sweden.
Yeah,
I could live in Sweden. They have some beautiful landscape.
Well,
They're a cool spot.
It's cold though a lot of the year. It's one of those Norse countries, so you're dealing with that. But it is a beautiful country. I mean, there's a lot there. I'm speaking from someone who's never been there. Sweden, but it's from Sweden.
I always think of Austin Powers.
I always think of Trading Places when Jamie Lee Curtis is. She's dressed like a Swiss person, but she says she's from Sweden. And then the guy with her is like, "Don't you mean Switzerland?" And she's like, "No, I'm from Sweden." That's good stuff. Anyway, so what have you been up to, man?
So my trip to New Orleans, which I know I talked about on the last show, that's probably been the biggest thing that I had.
Yeah.
And then I'm just playing catch up.
So when you get back from trips like that, it's almost like you need a vacation from your vacation.
I do.
Right? Because you get back and all this stuff's piled up, right?
Yeah, and that was a work trip too, so it wasn't like a full vacation. I took an extra day to explore, which I'm glad that I did. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got to see as much as I did in New Orleans.
Yeah.
But it's funny, everyone asked me "Oh, what'd you think? How did you like it?" And I was just like, "It was okay." And they're like, "Yeah, that's how I felt too." That seems to be almost everyone's response from New Orleans. They're just like, "Yeah, it was okay."
Here's the thing about New Orleans. New Orleans is one of those places that it is what you make of it.
Yeah.
because they pretty much have beads going on all year long.
There were beads going on when I was
Right.
there.
And you weren't there for anything special. It was
Right.
just so whenever there's a conference there, people let down their hair, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, you can go there. I remember I've been there on multiple occasions. I've been there twice for, basically, once was a couple of weeks before Fat Tuesday, once was during Fat Tuesday, and another time was during New Year's for a bowl game. Mm-hmm. And imagine...
Was that the Ohio State bowl game?
Ohio State versus Florida State.
That would have been
the 90s.
Oh, okay.
It was like 95 or 96, something
Gotcha.
like that. And Warwick, I think Warwick was their wide receiver that went into the NFL, Florida State's.
Okay.
And he was a stud. And Bobby Bowden was coaching at the time. And that's when I think it was John Cooper was still coaching.
Probably.
And it was when we got run out of the building almost, and what he saw Bobby Bowden doing was trading in fresh defensive ends almost like every other play, basically, so that they could keep pressure on our quarterback, and it worked tremendously. And so the year after that, he started doing the same thing, and like our pressure off the end started being like a force in the Big Ten. Now we'd still lose to Michigan while he was there, but still, he transformed our defensive line after that to model after.
It's a
Bobby
smart
Bowden.
move.
It
Absolutely.
was very smart, and we started just dominating. You know, quarterbacks couldn't do shit against us because they were getting every time they had a second to even think about throwing, they were getting sacked. I mean, it was crazy. But anyway, so yeah, those are the 3 times I've been there, and all 3 times they were just crazy nuts.
Well, there was definitely, like you said, like it was a conference. People were letting their hair down, and like, you know,
It's
not
like Vegas. It's like one of those places when you're there, everyone's there to have a good time. They know where they are.
Yeah.
They want to make it as much as they can. It's a lot different. Nashville's the same way, but it's a lot different than, say, if you went to just a conference in another place.
Right. Like I went to Orlando last year, and it was like,
Whoop-de-doo.
right. It was in the middle of, even though it was Orlando, it was kind of like isolated, like an island. Like if you wanted to go somewhere, you had to take an Uber, and it was probably like a 20-minute Uber drive. It was nothing like where, you know, we could just walk out of the hotel because we were downtown. And like, if you wanted to go to a different like district, like if you want to go to like the Garden District versus the French Quarter or something like that, you'd have to take an Uber. But we were right in the heart of the French Quarter, so we just walked around and, you know, did all that stuff. There was a cool carousel bar. Have you seen that or heard of that?
I haven't been there since probably 2000. I think it was 6, maybe.
Okay.
2000. No. It would have been like 2000. Might have been 2012 or 13, actually.
I imagined like a carousel with like horses and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's not that at all.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like normal bar like stools, and the bar like slowly turns in a circle, but the bartenders in the middle stay stationary.
Yeah.
And it was kind of neat, but it was fucking packed. You couldn't get to see. It was always packed every time we went
That's
there.
funny. That's funny. Did you go to any places to get like beignets or anything like that?
No. So we went, God, what is that famous place called? Like,
Cafe Du Monde?
Cafe Du Monde, yeah. Went to Cafe Du Monde. It was crazy busy, and I was just kind of like, pastries and shit like that aren't my thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there, and when I went there, it was crazy busy. They were okay.
And that's what I assumed.
I've had
They were
beignets
okay.
from places that were much better.
Yeah.
Like, but these are the classic standard, like almost like what they've always been for until like you get these crafty, you know, chefs and stuff doing their take on beignets.
Right.
So like, you know, once you've had those though, going back to the originals is kind of like,
It's a letdown.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that.
But if you did it in reverse order, I could see where you'd love those beignets, and then like you go to another place and it blows your mind. You know what I mean?
I mean, I've
Like,
had beignets before, but I'm just like, it's just not my thing. And like most of the times I had been drinking, and I'm like, I don't want to drink and then eat like a pastry, and just not my thing.
So, yeah, I'm a big fan of New Orleans. Whenever I get a chance to go, I like to go. I'm also going to Vegas here in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's for work. But
Are you going to try and hit up any liquor stores or anything while
Yeah, I
you're
think
there?
I'm-
Do like a
yeah,
little hunting?
I'm going to take some sleeves and the little pump. Take an extra bag.
That sounds kind of weird, just so you know.
Sleeves and a pump. No, for shipping sleeves, you know, so I
know.
can put it in my bag and make sure they don't get destroyed on the way home. But yeah, I'm probably going to try to find some smoke wagon, stuff like that, because that's where they are. And 2 Bitch Bourbon's out there as well. But then they also, I think they have a secondary so that you'll see some stuff. And I don't think bourbon is huge out there. So sometimes you can find some stuff in some stores.
Yeah, I was out there in December, And I didn't really like shop per se, but like in the bars, I kind of like tried to pay attention to what was on the shelves.
And I don't think it's a big draw there. So,
It wasn't,
but
though.
in the liquor stores, because of that, they'll have some stuff sitting on the
Yeah.
shelves. But not always. I mean, you're probably luckier in like a place like Henderson than you would be in, say, Vegas downtown or something where all the tourists are at. But
Where are you staying?
the Wynn.
Oh yeah, that's a nice place.
It was between the Wynn and the Venetian. I've stayed in the Venetian before. The Venetian was $50 more per night. And I was like, well, I'll save my company some money. Everyone else in my company chose the Venetian. I was like, motherfucker. But the Wynn's nice too. And one of the nights, we're there, one of the soirees, it's actually called a soiree, is hosted at the Wynn. So I'll be there already.
Oh,
so
cool.
that'll be nice. I can go home and take a shit and make sure I'm, freshened up for the evening and not have to rush to it.
Yeah, I stayed at the Venetian. Oh God, sorry, I was loud there. The last time I was there, I stayed at the Venetian.
Yeah, it's nice. Like I had one of those rooms that stepped down into like a living room.
That's how mine was.
And then up higher, like where you came in the door was like the sleeping area, and the bathroom was huge.
Yeah.
It was a really nice room.
It was just a long walk to get to my room for me.
I don't even remember that part.
Yeah.
It might have been. I have no idea. I don't remember. But my trade show was in the Venetian, and it is again this time. So like there's an expo hall in the Venetian, and that's where we're having our trade show. And so I'll have to go from the Wynn to the Venetian every day, which that part sucks. But it's only 3 days technically, but I'll be there Saturday through Thursday.
Doing a little sightseeing, like while you're
Trina
out
and
there.
I are going together.
Oh, nice.
For Saturday because it's Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah.
So we're going to be there Saturday and Sunday.
Shit, I'm glad you reminded me.
Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and then she's going to fly back on her own Tuesday.
Okay.
And then I'm going to stay through Thursday because the trade show starts on Tuesday. So I'm going to take her to the airport, see her off, go to the trade show, and then I'll be there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, fly back on a red eye Thursday night. So I hate red eyes, yeah. I've actually scheduled the whole Friday off for that reason.
Yeah.
So I can come home and actually get some real sleep.
I did the exact same thing, but it was a direct flight, so it was worth doing the red eye for a direct flight.
Yeah, mine is a direct flight to Charlotte and then home.
Charlotte's a big airport.
It is, but like the nice thing about it is I'll actually get a chance to sleep in the plane. And then when I land, I'll have to, scurry over to my flight that's like an hour and a half or whatever. What is it? An hour and a half to Charlotte?
I think so, yeah.
So,
I'm crushing my drink on top of you. I'm sorry.
I don't
mean to be chug-a-lugging.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. I
I'm
feel
not
like I
too
got
far
a little
behind.
less.
You got less, but not much.
That's my one thing with these. I don't like them to ice to get too watery, so I feel like I drink
my cocktails faster than I drink my bourbon.
Same, because I'm afraid it's going to water down.
So I was listening to a podcast. It was a Bloomberg podcast. It's called Odd Lots. And they had a forester come on.
Like that works for the forestry.
Yes.
Not old
forester.
forester. Okay.
Yes, he was a forester, and he lives in Pennsylvania, and he works for the state of Pennsylvania, I believe. And the whole episode was how the oak industry is going to eventually lead to a shortage, which is going to eventually affect the bourbon industry.
Yeah.
And he's saying in 30 years, they are looking, if things don't change, that in 30 years, and there's not much they can do to change it in 30 years because,
those trees take a long time to grow.
Like 70 years before you can actually even think about using them for barrels. Mm-hmm. So in 30 years, they're talking about having a reduction of available barrels or trees by 70%.
Wow.
And I don't know I haven't finished the podcast yet. I don't know if they're considering the increase in
like consumer
production.
Yeah.
No, not even consumer, but production by Buffalo Trace, because that requires more barrels. Mm-hmm. They've upped their production. Middle West Spirits is upping their production. I mean, all these places are upping their production to a point where they're increasing the amount of barrels they're going to use. And if you remember in Kentucky, they always brag about the fact that they have more stored barrels of bourbon than they do actual population in Kentucky.
Yeah. And I've always wondered that. And I always wondered where do they keep getting all this wood from? If you think about you only use a barrel one time, I don't know how many barrels you get out of one single tree or how many trees it takes to make one barrel. I don't know the
Well,
answer to
he got
that.
into a lot of that. He didn't say how many trees it takes to make one barrel, but he did say that it takes. He said that the oak trees that they use, it's almost like he said, think about like the NFL. He's like, it's the NFL of oak trees. He's like, so not all oak trees can be used.
Right.
He
I
said
believe
if there's
that.
a bend in the oak tree, and if there's all this, that, and the other, he says it's got to be a straight oak tree. And he said it's got to be grown in a certain environment too, where if they're grown, so here's one of the problems: you can't just go out and make an oak tree farm, because what makes an oak tree good, specifically for holding bourbon or holding liquid, is that they can't be super spread out. They have to be dense, basically.
Okay.
Because the wood kind of acts like straws for the tree to suck up to the leaves,
the moisture and nutrients and all that.
The faster they grow, the more spread out they are, the less dense the wood is, and the less it'll hold. Right?
Yeah, that makes good
So
sense.
you have to plant them in almost a forest environment where they're fighting each other to actually thrive. So if they're just sitting there free to grow, and you space them out so that they're free to grow tall and fast, they won't work. So they have to be in an almost like a natural, and he said you can emulate this when you plant them. He said, but they almost have to be in an area where they're fighting for sun and nutrients and stuff like that, so that they grow dense and thick, and they're not
like strong
they're
root
not
systems,
growing.
and that all
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
And he brought in a sample, like a crosscut, I think, and it showed like the rings and how spread apart they are. The wider apart the rings are from year to year, the worse. Means it's growing too fast, type of thing.
Okay.
Too big, too fast, and it's just not as dense of wood, and it won't hold the moisture as well. So I thought that was interesting. So
Well, yeah, like you said, think of all the distilleries, like not even just in Kentucky, but like all the craft distilleries, and like look at fucking MGP. How many barrels do they have, and how many?
well, and by law, you have to use new oak.
Isn't it like American oak as well, or could you
White
source?
oak. You can use white oak. You can use French oak, and there's another one that's like Himalayan oak or something, or Malaysian oak or something.
So you could source from Canada for the wood, or no?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't have to be American,
Okay. For some reason,
but it
I
just
thought
has to be white oak.
in one of the and I don't know if it was Neat or one of those documentaries, or Bourbon Tucky, they were talking about like whatever company was using American white oak.
Well, the companies
specifically.
might be,
Yeah.
kind of like a farm to glass type of
Yeah.
thing, but they don't have to use American white. It just has to be white oak,
Okay.
or French oak, or there's one other one that's acceptable, and I can't remember what it is. But
Because I read something that the majority of our like lumber per se, that kind of wood, all comes from Canada. It was like 70% of our wood comes from Canada.
not oak.
But and I don't know.
Most of the
Yeah.
oak comes from Appalachia.
Okay.
And there's only there's a region of area where oak can actually grow successfully, and it basically starts in northern Pennsylvania, stretches over to Minnesota, down to like Kentucky and even Florida in spots, but it's mostly where you're going to see most of it is in Appalachia.
And I know like pine, right, is a very like common like construction wood.
Right.
And so maybe that's what they were saying was it was pine that
Could be
comes from
pine.
there. I
And-
just knew that a lot of like
Yeah. And
like
one of the things
hardware
he did
store-
say is that, because one of the questions they did ask was home construction, things like that should be more important than bourbon, right? So when they're trying to decide for reforestation, where can they plant these trees and things like that? That was one of the things that they were talking about, is like, well, shouldn't the home trees, pine and stuff like that, pine and spruce, maybe? Is that
poplar?
maybe poplar? I think spruce even are all like interchangeable kind of. But he said, well, the thing that's nice about this is they don't compete geographically.
Oh.
Like you're not going to grow pine in the same place you grow oak, and vice versa. So, but he said one of the things that you have to deal with when you're choosing where to grow your oak trees and stuff like that is invasive species and deer. Deer love to just munch on
Like saplings and
they'll tear them up. So you have to keep them out.
Well, I've seen those like little cages they put around them when they're saplings, so the deer and other things.
But I don't know how long that
I don't have a clue.
helps or lasts or whatever. But
That cherry was freaking fantastic, man.
Yes.
That was delicious.
That's the type of cherry.
Yeah.
That's how I know. We talked about this last week. If they're
Yeah.
going to make a good cocktail, what kind of cherry they put in there.
Luxardo, yeah.
And this is a Jack Rudy or Jack Ruby. Which one's the?
Jack Ruby's the guy that killed.
So it's Jack Rudy.
Yeah.
Jack Rudy Luxardo cherries. Yeah. So it says cocktail cherries on them, but they're Luxardo cherries.
They're fantastic.
They are.
Are they in a heavy syrup at all?
They're in it's not a heavy syrup. Now the Traverse City ones are in a heavy syrup. That's a heavy, thick syrup.
Sometimes when I got to the end,
syrup,
I would put
just
just like a little splash in it.
Yeah, I do too. I do that on the way down just so it actually goes down with the level of the cherries. Now this is like a very, very thin syrup.
Yeah.
So it's not thick, but it is sitting in like some sort of a syrup of whatever. And it's funny because the last bottle I had was the Traverse City ones. And so like I got really spoiled on those, went back to these Luxardos, which they were both Luxardos, I don't know if the Traverse City ones are Luxardos.
I don't know what they are, but Traverse,
but
they do a
very
whole big,
famous for their cherries.
cherry. Yeah, they do cherry everything.
Yeah, they're very famous for the cherries.
And I've been to their it's not a distillery because they source
gift shop. Or
yeah,
whatever.
there you go, their gift shop. And it's cool. They had some good
It
cocktails.
probably is considered a distillery.
I think they called it a distillery, even though they are not distilling. That's a lie. They might distill.
They probably distill some clear spirits or something like gin or
Yeah.
something. I would imagine. I would imagine they do because generally speaking, no one wants to always source. I mean, well, some places might, but I think most places, like Virgil Kane, when we had them on, they talked about the fact that they like sourcing and kind of blending things together to make something unique.
Make their own. Yeah, that makes sense.
And Smoke Wagon does the same thing. But like Old Elk, for example, they started off with MGP, and I think now they're slowly working into distilling their own and releasing their own.
Yeah, but that's kind of like he was the master distiller though at MGP,
Oh,
so
well, yeah.
I still feel like it's his, even though he was sourcing it.
I mean, he probably
You
had
know
a
what I
hand in
mean?
the stuff that they were putting in.
Yeah.
And he probably knew. I think he even said on our show, if you want to listen, go back. We had Old Elk. We had Greg Metz on an episode.
That was a great show.
It was. And you got to nerd out big time.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
But I think he even said that he knew kind of some of the sweet spots because he was, there.
He was there so long.
Right. So that was an interesting, that was a good episode, actually. I should republish that one.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
I don't think enough people got to listen to that because we weren't very big yet.
Yeah. Well, they've grown as well as a company.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know what? One of these years, and it doesn't have to be our bourbon trip, but I wouldn't mind going out there.
Yeah.
And just making that our bourbon trip one year.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That would be fun.
Because I bet he'd welcome us in.
Oh, guarantee
maybe
it.
even let us do a barrel pick. Who knows? But I don't even care if he did because I'm sure he'd give us the VIP tour.
Oh, I'm sure. Thieving from barrels and just doing whatever.
No, he seemed like a super great guy, and he always reaches out to us, sends us stuff. I mean,
he does always send stuff.
We've
all
been
the
getting
time.
stuff from him for years, ever since he's been on the show, and I'll support them all the time. I buy anytime one of my bottles runs out, I go buy a new one. I just went and bought the new Infinity Blend.
Yeah,
and it's good.
I need to actually get another Old Elk. I drank mine, I don't know, not too long ago.
Yeah. I've still got a couple barrel picks I'm milking from Bourbon Enthusiast.
Yeah.
He hasn't done one in a while.
That's true. He hasn't.
And I should reach out to him, tell him he needs to do another Old Elk. But I think he's trying to go by what his members are asking for. But he needs to do another Old Elk soon. So what do you think of this drink?
I would drink this all the time. I thought this was delicious.
It was delicious. I would agree. Now, here's my next question. I'm going to go up and make a mint julep. I'll pause this.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of mint juleps usually?
It's not something that I typically drink. I'll be honest with you.
Have you ever had one?
Yes. We made some shitty ones in college for the Derby for sure.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I've had them later in life, but it has probably been, how old am I? It's probably been like 10 years since
42?
I've had one. Almost
42?
41. It's probably been a solid 8-9 years since I've had one.
All right.
Seriously.
So your taste buds have probably adjusted. You probably
I'm sure
love
they,
it now.
yeah. Maybe.
I had one when they sent, so if you remember, Old Forester sent me a kit last year around the Derby.
I do.
And I made some from that kit. Mm-hmm. And I absolutely loved it. I didn't think I was going to like it, but I was like, I'll just make one. And it was good.
I feel about them the way I do old fashions, right? Or most cocktails. Like these pre-made, pre-mixed ones, no. 100% no with a mint julep.
I get that.
If there's someone's like muddling like fresh mint and doing the whole thing, they're more refreshing that
Yeah.
way.
Well, and I have fresh mint upstairs.
Yeah.
And generally, you shouldn't muddle the mint just because it'll bruise it and make it a little more bitter. So you should just kind of express it against the side of the
Just kind of like
container.
pinching it, or
Well, no, you take the stirring spoon, and so the best way to do it is you add your syrup first, then you put as much mint as you're going to use in the bottom before you add anything else, and then express it against the side of the mixing glass.
okay.
And then that'll actually get the oils off of it, and then you'll get the mint flavor, not the bitterness. And then you add in the liquor and pour it into your thing, add in all the ice, or you can add in all the ice and then pour it in. Either way you want to do it. I was thinking about actually blending up some ice.
Okay.
And because you're supposed to use shaved ice, generally
Right.
speaking. I don't have shaved ice, so I was thinking about, running it through the Ninja upstairs and seeing what we can do.
Your fridge doesn't do crushed ice?
It does, but my son broke it.
Oh,
So all it does now
perfect.
is water.
Perfect.
So I have to pull the ice cube bin out and grab the
Yeah,
ice. by
gotcha.
hand. But yeah, otherwise that would have been great.
Yeah.
I need to buy the replacement part on Amazon that allows you to fix that. Basically, and it's funny because all it is one little piece of plastic. So when you press the ice thing, it ends up pressing the water thing instead of pressing back to the ice thing.
Oh,
Because
gotcha.
he took like an Under Armour thing and just slammed it in there one time, and it broke it. And so now all it does is feeds out water.
Well, I'd rather it give me water and not ice
Right.
than ice and, you know what I mean?
That's why it's never been fixed
Yeah.
for like 5 years.
Yeah.
Probably longer. It's probably been 10 years. No, because I think our kitchen is 12 years old, and I don't think that. I don't think that it was broken in the first 2 years. It's probably been like that for about 7 years or so.
Yeah. And then you just get used to it after that, and like whatever.
I know. I don't even think about it now.
Right.
About using that for ice. But yeah. So let me go and make that.
Okay.
I'll pause. You can probably hit the head if you need to.
Yeah,
And
I'm
then,
not too bad at the moment, but
yeah. Or have a primer and wait.
I mean, I might do that.
All right. If you do, grab me one. I'll be right back. And we're back. And I just made some fresh mint juleps. Your ice is already fucking melted.
I know.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
not all of it, but
Well, hopefully, I used a little stronger bourbon than they say. They said 90 proof. I said I used 100 proof. So for the mint julep, I made Old Forester 100. I used simple syrup. You can use sugar cubes. I decided just for speed's sake and not having to muddle, I used simple syrup. And then I used mint leaves. I used about 5 to 6 each. So it was about 12 of them in there. And then gently express them against the cup so as not to bruise them and release bitterness. Hopefully, I did an okay job with that. And then shave some ice and
it
stirred
smells
it up.
fantastic.
All right,
It really
well,
does.
Let's hope it does. I mean, let's hope it's good. So let's go ahead and drink it. Then we'll talk about the Derby and the history and all that stuff. Just it's going to be hard to make up for that drink we just had, though, because
Yeah.
that was really good. And you can be honest. You don't have to blow smoke up
I'm
my ass.
not.
I don't care.
I like this. I just took a little drink. I'm not a big mint person. Like,
I'm not either
if
normally.
it comes to like actual mints, yes, I like that. Like Altoids, whatever you want to call them, mints.
Yeah.
But I'm not one that eats like mint ice cream. I don't
like
eat-
like mint chocolate chip ice cream. I cannot stand it.
I don't either. I know a lot of people love that. It's just not my style. Like people do like peppermint teas and mint teas. I don't like that either. This is good. I would not drink multiple of these in a day.
Right. What's nice about it, I'd say, is that mint kind of makes it refreshing.
Yeah.
It is a different. I do like the fact that we're back to bourbon now.
Mm-hmm.
So I can taste the bourbon. I can taste the simple syrup. I can taste the mint. It's nice.
Same.
Yeah.
They blend together well.
Yeah.
I could see myself. By the way, going to the Derby is a bucket list thing of mine.
Yeah.
I will go to the Derby at some point in my life. Is Tyler here?
Yeah.
Nice.
This guy here.
May have got the kids to bed early, but
Yeah, maybe.
but I want to go to the Derby. Like that is 100% a bucket list thing. It used to be at
I
one
agree.
time.
And I thought this year you were supposed to get us tickets.
Oh yeah,
But you did not.
Yeah, I know.
So next year
I'll get
you're
you
going to
guys
get us
all tickets. Yeah,
all of us. I want to
absolutely.
go to the infield, and I want to fucking party.
I mean, I would be down for anything. So I could see it both ways. I would also have fun, like
I think
dressing up a little bit and like.
Here's the thing: once you go do the dress up thing, you're never coming back from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right. So, but I think you could always go from infield to classy.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
But I don't think you can go from classy to infield.
And I've heard, and you may not want to do this, but I've heard that they used to do like a tour bus thing where it picks you up and you have your hotel in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
There's a tour bus that picks up a bunch of people like a Greyhound, like a nice bus.
Yeah.
Picks you up in Cincinnati, takes you to Louisville for the Derby, and then it brings you back because it's so hard to
find a hotel or something.
and they're so fucking expensive.
Oh, yeah.
That it used to be that there were groups that would do that.
Sure.
And I mean, I would do that. Now the ride home might be fucking awful.
Yeah.
But if there's bathrooms on it, and a lot of those like party buses, they let you
They
drink.
usually have a bathroom in the back somewhere.
And if they let you kind of like
as long as someone's not taking a deuce in them, who cares?
kind of like keep drinking a little bit while it's going on, that would be doable.
Yeah. No, I agree with that for sure. Let's talk about the Derby now that you kind of brought it up.
His mutta was a mutta.
His mutta was a mutta. And his mutta was a mutta.
Loves the slop.
Loves the slop, Jerry. Loves the slop. So the Kentucky Derby. It's a horse race, obviously. Held annually in Louisville, Kentucky. Almost always on the first Saturday in May, capping the 2-week-long Kentucky Derby Festival. And it's the Grade 1 stakes race for 3-year-old thoroughbreds at a distance of, do you know how long it is?
It's a mile, 2 miles. 2 miles, I think.
Nope.
No? Damn.
2 something.
2 point something?
No, 2 something. 2 kilometers.
Oh, 2. I don't know why I thought
So
it was
it's
2 miles. I don't know.
1 1/4 mile, 2 kilometers.
1 1/4
And
mile.
it's at Churchill Downs. So colts and geldings carry 126 pounds and fillies 121 pounds.
The jockeys is what you're referring to when you say they.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
I'm assuming
I'm
jockeys.
not a race guy, so I'm just reading. So if you guys know what that means. So it's 10 furlongs.
Oh.
Apparently a furlong is 0.2 kilometers.
I have watched the Derby.
Or 0.05 kilometers.
Ever
Right?
since, because I went to school in Kentucky.
No.
And that's when
It
I
was
got
point- it was 0.2,
introduced.
I was right.
Yeah. Ever since I got introduced to the Derby, and I don't know if it was my freshman year or maybe my sophomore year, but I've watched the Derby every year since. It's always been like a thing for me.
Wow. So at one point it was 1.5 miles. That was in 1889. Now
I saw that one.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they streamed it live on the internet.
I think so. Yeah.
I think Abraham Lincoln was the
It was
was
on like
the announcer.
YouTube TV or something like that. Yeah.
So then it got shortened to a 1.25 miles. And the record, do you know who holds the record for the fastest
For the fastest, I'm going to say Man of War.
Nope. But you're on the right track.
Yeah, it's got to be one of
There's
his
only one
iconic
other
ones.
one that you...
Secretariat?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was Secretariat. In 1973. 1 minute, 59 seconds, 0.4.
Wow.
Whatever. However you say that. And then for the 1.5 mile one, it was Spokane. And it was 2 minutes, 34 seconds, 0.5. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's a left-handed track, which means they're going around the track with a left turn instead of a right turn. And they all have to
Counterclockwise.
They have to all be...
Or anti-clockwise.
Anti-clockwise. They have to all be 3 years old, right?
Yes.
Which I think's pretty interesting. And it's one of the... it's the one that they call the Run for the Roses, right?
Yes.
So
Have you ever watched the Derby, like, and I should say, like, paid attention, like, when they're bringing the horses out before they're actually, like, right before they're ready to run, they're taking them to the gates. Have you ever watched
like
the horses?
the parade and the...
Not the parade. They're taking them from, like, their stalls or whatever to the actual gates, and they're getting ready to run. Those horses are fucking amped.
Oh, I bet.
And they have to have...
They've all been shot up with their steroids, and they're ready to
Oh,
go.
yeah. Well, I'm shot up with I don't know what. But watch them. They have to have, like, an escort horse to help calm them down.
Really?
You'll see an extra, like, little, like, kind of like another horse to help calm them down. They're fucking amped. They're nipping and biting at each other.
Yeah.
And they are fucking... Like I said, they are amped up. You'll have to watch them sometime
I'll
and
have
pay
to do
attention
that.
to
Yeah.
it.
I generally don't watch the Derby. I don't know why. I'll watch the Sports Center replay of it. But for whatever reason, I've never watched it, and I don't know why. It's probably because the buildup is so big for just 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's probably what it is for me. But I guess of the 3 Triple Crown races, the Kentucky Derby has the distinction of having been run uninterrupted since its inaugural race back in, you know what year?
1800, but I don't know.
1875.
Wow.
Now, in 2020, it was rescheduled to September. So that was the...
I do remember that.
Due to the COVID.
Yes, I remember that.
Due to the COVIDs. But even the Preakness and the Belmont Stakes of the other 2 Triple Crowns, they've taken hiatuses in different times, whereas this has not. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to me that the Derby has gone uninterrupted since 1875.
It's a big deal in Kentucky, and
it is.
Obviously we've been to Kentucky several times, and I lived in Lexington for a while. But those horse farms are beautiful. You know what I mean? And a lot of those horses live better than the people there. I swear they do. Wow. And they always say it's the land of fast horses and beautiful women. I'm serious. That's what when I was in school they would say that.
Where is the land of fast women and beautiful horses?
That was my joke in college. I would say the opposite.
That's what I want to find.
Yeah, I would always say that.
I mean, that's great that it's beautiful women and fast horses, but I want the fast women and beautiful horses.
I dated a girl for 3 years in college in Kentucky, and she was from Lexington. And I would always say that to her, and she would be like, "Shut up." She would get so annoyed with me.
Well, how many times did she hear that joke?
Oh, probably as many as Trina hears whatever from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's a saint. To put up with that nonsense.
Yeah.
So now that you've had a few more drinks, what do you think?
I still like it. I do.
Yeah.
It's growing on me. The mint isn't overpowering. It's just it's a compliment to the drink.
Mm-hmm. And it was interesting. I've watched a couple videos leading up to the show of how to make them, and multiple different ways. Blade and Bow, for example, the video they posted.
Blade and Bow, I haven't had that in a while.
So Blade and Bow, the video they posted was actually 10 mint leaves per drink.
That's a lot of mint.
It was, but he said the difference is, he says some people muddle theirs.
Okay.
And he said, and you don't need nearly as many if you muddle it because it releases the oils and the bitterness. He says, so if you express it up against the cup, which is what I tried to do here, I don't know how good a job I did, but it looked like I was seeing some oiliness on there. That could have been the syrup, but he said when you put it in with the syrup and then you rub it gently up against the side of the container you're mixing it in, then you'll express the oils as opposed to the muddling, which brings out some of the bitters.
Well, it's funny you say that, and I know I keep going back to New Orleans, so I'm sorry, but when I would drink those Sazeracs, they would do that with the lemon. They would take that lemon rind and they would kind of like rub it around the rim and express it. Yeah. And I don't know, there was something about the aroma, and there's something to be said about like your sense of smell complementing taste.
Mint,
and I think that's what it is.
Well, and mint, the other thing they tell you to do with the mint is you garnish it with a full sprig of mint. Mm-hmm. That way, as you get close to the glass, that aromatic is kind of getting you ready for the drink. It's almost like when you nose a bourbon, probably. Mm-hmm. You nose it, you get ready for the flavor, and then you drink it, and then that flavor's there, and you prepared yourself by nosing it first. And the aromatic, properties of the mint probably does the same thing for the drink.
I think I'm liking all the Old Forester in this, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think, I could be wrong, but I feel like at the Derby that Woodford is kind of the sponsor, and they do most of the bourbon, if I remember. Yeah.
I believe they are the mint julep. And in fact, if you're going out and about right now, in most Ohio liquor stores, there's a kit. It's a Woodford Reserve kit, and I almost bought one. Well, that comes with a mint julep cup. And
they have that Woodford bottle that has it's like a Derby edition. It's still the same juice.
That's not this kit.
Yeah.
So they do two things. They sell, there's nothing different in the bottle I think it's a hand painted design every year that they then mass produce. And then, so each year people collect them because each year it's a different print. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is that then later on, so that's usually earlier in the year, then later on in the year, the week of, the month of leading up, they'll sell a little kit that comes with a mint julep cup. Okay. And I almost bought one because I don't have a mint julep cup. The little, I don't know what actual metal it is, but it's like a goldish kind of cup.
I know what you're talking about.
And I think it helps keep it cold because you put the ice, you fill it up.
It's kind of like a mule is the same way.
Yeah, it's a similar. So what is that?
Copper?
It might be copper, yeah. It might be what it is, yeah.
I like the copper that's like dimpled. Have you ever seen those? All the dimples in it?
Yeah. And that's how a lot of the still stuff is too. Mm-hmm. Like it's got the dimples in it. But But yeah, this is good, man. I'm enjoying this. This is, you know what? I have that Kentucky Derby book that they sent
Oh, yeah.
me. I forgot all about that. It's got a whole bunch of stuff in it and info. But they sent that with the Old Forester kit last year. Yeah, my mint julep's gone, man. I have a little bit left.
Yeah,
but
no, I'm very much enjoying mine. There's not much left on it either.
This surprised me as well. I didn't know how much I'd like it. I remembered liking it last year. I made one for me and one for Trina. She liked it. She likes mint though, and I didn't think I would because I don't generally like mint. But this, it's a refreshing flavor that complements, like you said.
God, I keep talking about New Orleans. They had at a restaurant an old-fashioned, was it sage? I feel, because it was like it had the leaves on the stem still.
Yeah.
And they put it down inside the drink, and it was surprisingly good.
So when I went to Giant Eagle to buy the chocolate bitters, because Kroger had no bitters, and the guy goes, "Yeah, we've only restocked our bitters twice since November," and he's like, "They last for like 2 or 3 days and they're gone."
Really?
And I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "It's so frustrating." So he's like, "I have to actually go to Giant Eagle." The Kroger guy's telling me I have to go to Giant Eagle to get my bitters. So I went to Giant Eagle right after that because I went there looking for them today for this, and they had the chocolate bitters, and I walked in, and they had simple syrups that were flavored, and they had a whole bunch of different ones. They were pretty cool. So like they had a simple, like a cranberry simple syrup. They had there were so many of them. There was like a vanilla something or other. God, I wish I would have picked one of them up. They were $10 a piece, but I bet you they would make an old fashioned just outstanding. There was a maple something. There was a maple one that I was like, "Ooh, I bet that's really good for an old fashioned."
I'm sure.
So there was like some ginger ones, ginger and chocolate, ginger and something else. There was maple and so like when you're walking to the Britain Parkway Giant Eagle liquor store, you know how you're walking into the liquor store and there's that like little alcove before you go in that has like not liquor store stuff, but like liquor store complimentary
like mixers
stuff,
and mixers.
So the bitters are right there. And then off to the side of the bitters to the right, there was all these different flavored simple syrups. And I was like, "Oh, God, that's not good. I could go try all those and make little old fashions to see which ones I like better."
I'll have to peek over there and see.
Yeah,
next
it
time
was
I'm
interesting. I can't vouch for them because I've never had one, but it was an interesting idea. Because the simple syrups are usually just that little like, it's almost like the old squeeze bottle of the bear for honey.
Oh, yes.
But it's like that same
hilarious.
plastic, you know, but it's simple syrup. And it's like, it's just so, I know it's kind of goofy to say this, but it's so simple.
Yeah.
And so like, you can make your own simple syrup, you know, it's not that hard.
But it's always easier just to buy that shit.
Yeah. And my buddy makes his own simple syrup and he actually then puts a little bit of vodka in with it so that it keeps longer.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So that's what he does with his simple syrup. He'll make it on the stove, and then he'll mix in a little bit of vodka, and then put it in the fridge. That way, he can pour it out and make his drinks with it more, from a handmade or homemade or whatever, from scratch or whatever you want to call it. But he'll do that with his simple syrup. I like the idea of already having simple syrup. I prefer maple syrup.
With an old fashioned, I use maple syrup as well.
Like real maple syrup, not like Log Cabin or something, but like
correct,
real
like true maple syrup.
Yeah.
Yes, because maple syrup's not cheap, like true maple syrup.
No, and that barrel aged maple syrup that Middle West Spirits has, holy shit,
good.
That is so good in an old fashioned.
It is
so good. But yeah, so I guess if you are listening to this leading into Cinco de Mayo or the Derby this weekend, try out one of these drinks. I did say the recipe for this one, right? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But I'll post them on our Instagram here in the next day or two leading in. And you know what? Damn it. I meant to take a picture of this like I did, but it's empty now. So you're going to see an empty picture. Oh, well. But let me turn. Well, I mean, Lexro can be in the picture, but that's all right. Got to leave room to put the recipe above it. So if you're this weekend watching the Derby or you're celebrating Cinco de Mayo, because it is on a Friday this year, so you might be able to go out and party, have one of these as a pregame before you go out and enjoy. Have that Reposado Old Fashioned. That was actually really good.
Yeah, that was very good.
And then on Derby Day, sit down with one of these, make one of your own mint juleps. It's even if you're normally just a bourbon drinker, this is actually pretty good and refreshing.
It was something different too. Like I'm a creature of habit, and I tend to reach for the same thing, and it's refreshing to grab something different, kind of go out of your comfort zone. Like
it's pure laziness for me that I don't make my own cocktails.
Same.
But when I do, I'm always pleasantly surprised. So, I mean, it is, you're right, though. It is like a creature comfort, habit thing or laziness thing, whatever you want to call it. But whatever the reason, I just don't generally make them. And, I mean, these were both really good tonight. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're basically at an hour. So, and I know it's late for you, Mr.
One of these
Riser.
days, we're going to make the Bourbon Bacon Beautiful from the Pearl.
God. You're going to have to do the fat wash.
I'll do it.
Do it. You keep saying you want to do a fat wash.
It's one of those things that it's not that I can't do it. I just don't think about it. Like I need to set a reminder in my phone that says make fat washed bourbon. Well, for real.
Yeah.
Because I went there. I don't know if we're trying to end this, but I'll make it quick.
No, that's fine.
I went there on Friday. So I hadn't been to the Pearl in forever. And I was like, I really want the Pearl. I'm going to go.
We almost went on Friday.
Yeah.
Trina and I were sitting there like, it was like 4:30. And we're like, let's go to the Pearl. And then what did I say we ended up? Oh, we ended up going to Hot Chicken Takeover instead.
Yeah.
And she's so upset that we went there instead of the Pearl.
And so I want to make this quick and then I'll go back. I was on a Reddit thread the other day and a lot of people are unhappy with Hot Chicken Takeover because it's sold. Someone bought the franchise.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
And they're all about like profit. And so they have made some
their chicken I just had the other day was fine.
That's just what I read. I haven't had it.
I mean, it may be, but they added fries to their menu, and their fries were outstanding. Outstanding.
Yeah, because they used to be like mac and cheese and slaw.
Well, they do still have those, but they added fries, and the fries are hand-cut each day.
That sounds fantastic.
And they were cooked, I think, in probably peanut oil. They were so good. So good. That was one of the best parts of the meal. But here's the thing I say about Hot Chicken Takeover. If you're in the Columbus area, this is a hot take.
Yeah.
If you don't get them hot, if you don't get the hot flavor,
it's not worth it.
It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think you may as well just go to Chick-fil-A.
Right.
Or, go to Cane's. I haven't had Dave's Hot Chicken yet. I want to have that soon.
Cluck Norris is really good too. If you
I've
had
had Cluck Norris. Yeah,
Cluck Norris is really good.
But honestly, if you go to Hot Chicken Takeover and don't get it hot, then why are you going?
Right.
I mean, honestly, because it's really not that good. Because Trina usually gets it warm. I get it hot. And then I think, is it cold? Is that what they call it?
Cold's like nothing, I think.
Right, but I think they call it cold.
I think so.
And if
it's not served cold, there's just no spice.
Right. Just no spice to it. But if you get it cold, I was like, why are you going?
Right.
Unless you're going with 3 or 4 people that are really looking forward to it and you just are tagging along and you're like, okay, well, I'll just get it cold.
Right.
I get that, but don't go there if you're not going to get it hot.
I agree. That's the whole part of the experience.
It is. I mean, it's Hot Chicken Takeover. It's not Cold Chicken Takeover. It's not.
It's not Warm Chicken Takeover.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it. And so then, if you go there and you don't get it hot, and then you complain about why you didn't get it how it was intended.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Whatever. Anyway.
But I had gone to the Pearl. And I went by myself. I have no problem going out to eat by myself. Some people are weird about that.
I don't either.
I love to sit at the bar and go out to eat by myself. And I've noticed this trend of like, you get really good service.
Because you start talking to the bartender and because they see you're by yourself and they don't worry about interrupting you.
Yeah.
So they'll start talking to you. Yeah. You'll get good
every
service.
time. And there was a girl there. I forget her name. She ended up being my even though there was multiple people at the bar, she just kept coming back to me. Great service. Can I get you a drink? Can I get you this? Can I get you that? Towards the end, she's like, can I interest you in a dessert menu? And I was like, no. I was like, for dessert, I'm just going to have one more drink and I'll close my tab. And so she makes my drink and she was like, I put extra bacon in there for you for your dessert. And I was just, you know what I mean? And it's I love those experiences of sitting at the bar by myself. Right. It was a great time. My meal was fantastic.
The Bourbon Bacon Beautiful is on the happy hour menu.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It's half price. So it ends up being, I think, $6.50.
Right. It's a $13
Yeah. And I'm like, $6.50 for
like
one
a
of these?
Penis, man.
You can't beat it.
It's hard to beat.
So, great time, great food. I ordered some oysters, and then I ordered, I did the burger. Burger came out perfect. I've had some...
God, my burger never comes out right. But it's still always great.
Yeah, it came out perfect. And I've had some bad, I've said it before, I've had some bad food there, not bad food. It didn't come out like I expected it to.
Yeah, I've never had bad food there, but they never get my burger the right temperature.
It was just right.
What do you order yours?
Medium.
So me too, but
Medium.
it always comes out with a gray center.
This did not. The cheese was just right.
Yeah, the
cheese was perfect.
I don't know how they do it where it comes out gray in the middle and it's still juicy.
Yeah,
because everywhere else I go, that just turns my stomach. But I can eat their burgers even when they miscook it. Or is that right? Miscook? I don't know.
I think so.
So
that's all. But it was a great.
No, I
want to do that
place,
cocktail.
Man.
Like I'm gonna figure out how to make that. I watched her make several. Well, 4 of them that I had. But anyway, there's a premix that they have like pre-made
for the bourbon bacon beautiful.
Yes, yeah. Like I could see
I think their signature cocktails they pretty much all have pre-made. I believe.
But they have to. The volume.
They're ordering those off the menu.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead. You were watching her make them.
Yeah, no, and it was like one of those like ketchup bottles, right? But it was clear. They're like they squirted in there and
I'm not gonna lie. I know Tyler makes fun of me because he's a foodie, he self-proclaimed foodie, but
he's gonna bust at the door like the Kool-Aid man.
But like, that's probably one of my favorite restaurants in all of Columbus, because just consistently, it doesn't matter what I'm in the mood for. They've got it all, and it's all good.
Absolutely.
Whether it's tater tots, whether it's a burger, whether it's fish and chips, whether it's their chicken and waffles on brunch day. Their omelet of the day that they have on brunch. I mean, their cinnamon roll on brunch is freaking ridiculous. Their PB&J little bites,
those are good.
Deviled eggs are good. Like, it's all good. And then their oysters are good too. Like,
that place was packed to the fucking gills by 4:30 though.
Oh yeah, you have to get there. You have to get there by 4:00 on a Friday, or it's
I got there at 4:15. There were like 2 or 3 seats left at the bar.
Yeah.
I took a seat, and by 4:30, fucking packed to the gills.
The good thing is you can sit over at the oyster bar too.
That's true.
That's where Trina and I have had to sit a couple times. But yeah, that place gets packed fast.
Yeah,
and because it's Friday,
right?
So, and I think Trina and I are going to try to go there this Friday. We
should.
I'm so mad that we didn't get to see.
I know. I'd have been like, well, I'm going to sit with them. No.
Yeah, I would have. I would have figured out a way. So. All right. Well, thanks for joining in for an episode, and enjoy your Cinco de Mayo / Derby weekend happening all at the same time.
Place your bets.
And have a good weekend, guys. We'll see you next week when Tyler returns. He makes his triumphant
return of Tyler.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot, and have a good weekend. Thank you for joining in for yet another episode of the Bourbon Hunters. If you like what you hear, please leave us a good rating on Apple, Podbean, Google, or wherever you are listening. It definitely helps us to get great guests on our show. And follow us on Instagram and the Facebooks to keep up to date with what is in our glass. As always, sit back, grab a pour, kick up your feet, and enjoy some bourbon.